Hey everyone, it's Dan Blackwell, and on today's video, I'm gonna update the journey to 100 doors that I'm on. Currently, I have a total of 20 apartment units that I own solely. Just closed a fourplex last week that put me to 20 doors. And I have an 8 unit that I have currently in escrow that is set to close in July. That'll put me up to 28 apartment units. I've been updating videos out there on these properties that I have in escrow. And just to share the journey, I wanted to talk more or less about what I'm going through in the process on how to acquire these properties. Now, we all know the market is very expensive right now, and to find good properties at fair prices is hard to come by. But if you stay patient and you stay in the market every day, there will be opportunities that come up. So fortunately, I was able to put 2 buildings under contract. And then most importantly, I want to make sure that I have enough reserves in case the market cools down, or being that I'm a broker, if transaction volumes drop or pull back a little bit, I have enough reserves to kind of weather that slower period. So the properties that I'm purchasing right now, I'm not using any new money, as I like to call it. I'm not using any cash that I have in my pocket or in my bank account to buy these new properties. The way I'm able to acquire these properties is I'm using borrowed money. I'm doing cash out refinances on some other assets that I own, pulling out money that's tax-free, and then I'm using that money to then put down as the down payments for these properties that I'm buying. So I just wanted to walk through that. And right now, interest rates are moving. So some of the rates I was able to lock in on these cash outs were before the rate hikes that just happened. And then some I just locked in this week, and the interest rates are up 25 basis points. But I think long-term, the math made sense. And one of the main metrics I look at is I want to make sure that whatever I'm purchasing, the cap rate is higher than the cost of funds I'm borrowing at. So the highest interest rate I just borrowed at was 3.75% for 10-year interest-only money. And that cash I'm using out of that property, I'm putting it into another building, and that property is a 4.25% cap rate with lower rents. So I know that I'm insulated. The 4.25% is higher than the 3.75% that I'm borrowing at, and you get some positive leverage there. So I feel good about that. I feel insulated there. The money that I'm borrowing is working for me better in this newer property. And then I get all the tax benefits, the depreciation, the cost seg write-off, and this new property the 2 new properties that I'm acquiring. One needs some cosmetic work. It's going to need paint, new roof, a couple units need to be upgraded, nothing much, and there's already reserves for that. And then the 8-unit property that I'm acquiring, there's really not a whole lot to do at all. I'll still have some cash set aside to fund that account if needed, but I'm not going into properties that need to be completely renovated and I've got to start from scratch and do a lot of deep rehab. So I think overall it's a very conservative way to grow a portfolio, is going through the cash out refinance. And again, it's tax-free and you can lock in low rates. And what I've done, just to dive deeper, I've shot a few videos on a few triplexes that I have in Eastside Costa Mesa. And what I've done is I have just closing out cash out refinances of these properties. One was 10-year IO at 3.5. The other one is 10-year IO at 3.75. I pulled out all my down payment, which is approximately $900,000. Again, it's tax-free, and that is the $900,000 is the down payment for this 8-unit building that I'm buying in Placentia. So I didn't plan to pull out all my cash. I didn't plan to do that. I thought at one point, I maybe sell these little triplexes into a 1031 exchange, but it just so worked out to where the property values rose, the rental rates shot up by over 50% within the time that I've owned these little triplexes, and I was able to pull the cash out and grow. So I think that's just something I really wanted to share, is the cash out refinance as a great option to run numbers and to see what's going to work for you. I ended up on the purchases, I went interest only on all those 2 purchases as well, because it's nice to pay down buildings over time, but it's really hard to grow a portfolio when your principal and interest, you're not getting any cash flow. If the market kind of corrects, I'd rather have a lower interest only payment than a forced higher payment of principal and interest. I figured as I get up closer to 100 doors, I can get more on principal and interest and start paying a few assets down. So everything that I hold on my own portfolio, 28 units, is all interest only. And partnership deals, I have some principal and interest payments. But most importantly, I didn't use any new money to buy these properties. I just used the cash out refinances, and I'm keeping my reserves in my bank account. I think, again, it's buying stabilized assets at fair prices that don't require a lot of work. That's kind of a safe way to kind of keep chipping along. So by summertime, it'll be 28 units. And then I still have this fourplex in orange that I'm renovating. And what I really wanted was I wanted to have that fixed up and ready to sell, to exchange into this 8-unit building and not do the cash out refinances. But I'm just not able to get the renovations completed in time. So this is where the plan B came with the cash out refinances. So I still have this fourplex in orange. It's getting renovated. Come June, July, we should have the building completely renovated and finished out. And then I will plan to find another up leg. Hopefully I can get into 6 to 8 units and trade that 4 and double up into 8. That would be ideal. And then that would put me up to 36 units. So getting close to 36, 40 units by the end of the year would be great. Again, it's not a rush. I'm not trying to do this by a certain period of time because I don't want to get overexposed. The main reason why people can get in trouble is with leverage when they invest in properties. So as long as you keep your leverage low or some reserves on the side, a combination thereof, I think that's a great way to kind of structure acquiring more buildings, taking on some calculated risk, but not taking on way too much risk, because you never know what can happen within the marketplace. So that's pretty much what I've been looking at. I've been talking to a lot of different loan brokers, a lot of different banks to find out who's very, very competitive. I really like First Foundation right now, especially for their Plex program, 2 to 4 units. They can do up to 65% cash out, I believe. You want to talk to them directly to make sure that's still the case, as things kind of can change at times. And their 10-year money is under 4% right now, but rates are rising. So if you're in the process of maybe looking, you might want to contact Dane Pavlik over at First Foundation. I can provide his contact information if you want, but there's a number of different great lenders out there. It's all about the relationships, but it's still a really good time if you can find a good property at a fair price. It still makes a lot of sense long term. So that's the update on the journey to 100 doors, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching.